People who cheat in their speedruns are hilarious because they're terrible at hiding the fact that they cheated. These are the funniest fake Minecraft speedruns. This speedrun is interesting because the speedrunner is using a face cam. At first, everything is normal. He spawns in, finds a village, and starts taking the beds for the Ender Dragon battle. He gets very lucky finding obsidian, iron, and bread in a chest, and then he crafts some tools. But here's where things start to get weird. He starts to attack the iron golem for loot, and while he's hitting it, he gets up and leaves. And who's playing the game? Well, he gets the iron and makes a bucket, and the speedrunner comes back onto the camera, and he's eating a sandwich. Is this guy using the controller with his feet? Anyways, he builds the nether portal, crafts flint and steel, and while he lights it, he's literally eating a sandwich and on his phone. I think someone's playing a prank on me. So he enters the nether and conveniently finds a bastion, but he falls and pulls off this insane clutch. Wait a second, is that cat playing the game? What in tarnation? He ends up finding a huge vein of gold blocks and throws 75 gold ingots into a pit of 5 trapped piglins, yielding him 13 ender pearls, which is actually extremely lucky. The speedrunner then changes their render distance and field of view, which is a common practice among professional speedrunners. And in doing so, they discover a nether fortress across the lava lake. So they ender pearl to it and quickly find a blaze spawner. And luckily, they drank a fire resistance potion earlier, so battling the blaze was a breeze. But wait a second, the speedrunner is literally taking a nap on camera, so who's fighting the blaze? I'm so confused. So while the speedrunner is literally asleep, someone is playing the game and building the nether portal, and they return to the overworld. He crafts Eyes of Ender, throws an eye, and then starts traveling in that direction. Luckily, the speedrunner wakes up from his nap and wait a second. He comes back and literally has a Batman costume on. Then he shows off his strength training routine. This is a joke, right? He finds the stronghold, fills the portal, and enters the end. But while he's waiting for the dragon to perch, I guess he breaks out his clarinet. Listen, I'm a musician myself, but my ears are in pain. And while he's jamming out for his next jazz solo, someone is beating the Ender Dragon. Wait a second. His controller was never even plugged in? I can't tell if this guy is cheating or he's just extremely talented. In this first speedrun, the player spawns in the middle of nowhere and immediately starts following dirt path blocks, which don't ever spawn outside of villages like this. And the path leads to a village. Not suspicious at all. On top of that, one villager house is marked with a mismatched wood plank. The speedrunner goes into this house and there's another section to it which isn't even a vanilla feature of Minecraft. Inside the room is a chest and the only thing inside it is a lever, which is literally useless. What's he gonna do with the lever? Well, they place the lever and use it and everything goes dark. They type in chat saying, "Sorry, I turned off the lights by accident." And when they turn the lights back on, there's a ruined nether portal that's completely filled. He has a full arsenal of weapons and a literal army of tamed wolves protecting him. Buddy, I think a lot more happened than the lights going out. The only thing that would have been even more convenient is if flint and steel fell from the sky, but that would never— You've gotta be kidding me. The speedrunner then lights the portal, goes to the nether, but then types in chat saying, "This place stinks, see ya?" But without Eyes of Ender, they're never going to find the stronghold. What in tarnation? Okay, so he's in the stronghold, but he has no Eyes of Ender. You're probably wondering how they plan on getting to the end. Well, it looks like he left clicks on the end portal frames and fills them with eyes, but he has no Eyes of Ender in his inventory. This guy's putting in almost as much effort as Dream to hide the fact that he's cheating. The speedrunner enters the end, but he has no weapons or armor to fight the— Wait, why isn't the dragon even moving? It looks like the speedrunner spawned in a mannequin dragon and then surprise, surprise, they get out their light switch and turn off the lights. And the dragon is gone and they beat the game. I just lost so many brain cells. This speedrunner starts off pretty normal. They get wood, build tools, and then they get lucky and find a village. The loot looks normal and they move on with their speedrun. Next, you'd expect the speedrunner to go to the nether, but instead they go in a cave and start strip mining. And all of a sudden they're in the stronghold. What in tarnation? Now they're in the stronghold, but they don't have ender pearls or blaze rods. Well, they find a chest that has some clearly fake loot in it. Ender pearls, blaze rods, golden apples, a tank. Wait, what? This one was legit. This speedrun, I'm apologizing in advance for the brain cells you're about to lose. World generation looks normal, spawn looks normal, timer looks normal. Okay, now wait a second. Their loot is clearly fake and they must have borrowed their timer from Dream because it starts going backwards. Then they go into another villager house and there's a villager inside trapped in a ditch and it's an expert level cleric. Totally legit. Right outside of that house is a mound of dirt with a blank sign. Gee, I wonder what's underneath the dirt. Ah yes, the nether. The worst part is they just now realize they've been in creative this whole time, so they shamelessly change their game mode to survival, revealing their entire command history. This is painful to watch. After going into survival mode, they enter the Nether and vanquish the Blaze, but it looks like their custom spawner stopped working, so there's a shameless cut to the run where a bunch of Blaze just appear out of nowhere. And to make up for the lost time, their timer starts going backwards again. So they craft some Eyes of Ender, throw them in the sky. Wait, why are they going the opposite direction? And they discover a Wish.com version of the stronghold at only 7 seconds into the run. I guess they decide they're just too good at Minecraft, so they start throwing all of their Eyes of Ender into lava. Once they're in the stronghold, there's a shamelessly obvious cut where they go into creative and just start levitating to the surface. At this point, the speedrun moderators are probably impressed because the timer has just completely stopped. After realizing that the dragon won't perch because there are leftover end crystals, they go into creative and die by accident. Naturally, the run just keeps on going, but even cheating, this speedrunner still can't kill the dragon, and he dies again. After another shamelessly obvious cut, there is a literal truckload of TNT spawned in, and they still can't beat the dragon. After their speedrun timer goes into the negatives, it looks like their game broke as well, because the dragon becomes completely non-responsive, and in world record time, they beat the game at -4 minutes and 20 seconds. Wait a second, the speedrunner's using my Minecraft skin. That's not me. This speedrunner starts off by getting wood, building tools, and they get lucky and find a village. They loot the village and it all seems pretty normal. An iron pickaxe, some armor, some bread, a banana. Wait, what? Yeah, clearly the speedrunner is using mods because last time I checked, bananas are not in vanilla Minecraft. But the best part is that it isn't food, it's a weapon. After he decimates a herd of cows with a banana, he walks over to what appears to be a small pool of water, but it's an end portal lake. This must be a new feature. Once they're in the end, they break all of the end crystals and unleash chaos with the banana. Totally legit. In this speedrunner, the players aim downwards when they spawn, which isn't possible, and when they turn around, there's a dungeon underground with a sign that says, "Over here." Yeah, right. And it conveniently has tools, wood, and ender pearls. After wasting a few minutes aimlessly traveling in the forest, there is a very obvious cut to the run where you can see it says set own game mode to survival, and he has 64 obsidian now. I think this player's taking the whole speed run thing too seriously because they make the nether portal so sloppily that it won't even work, and they don't even have flint and steel. But there's another cut to the run where they clearly were in creative mode because the portal's remade, lit, and they suddenly have flint and steel. Yeah, this'll go right over the speedrun moderators' heads. I hope you won't be surprised when I say that once he's in the nether, there's another cut, and he's suddenly at the nether fortress. Totally legit. Once he encounters Blaze though, he realizes he's going to die without shield or armor, and then just stares at the ceiling. And suddenly, he has armor. Wow, this guy should play the lottery. So he gears up with this newly found armor and dies. But instead of giving up, he puts text on the screen saying, "Didn't see that," and then magically is in the stronghold and says, "This is not cheat." Let me see here. Yeah, that checks out. Once he's in the end, I guess he has Elytra now because he's flying and things can only go down from here. Literally. Yeah, all that hard work and he just dies. I was really rooting for this guy. This speedrunner starts off by getting wood, killing a cow, and then building a house. Wait, this is my vlog footage. This speedrunner titles his world First Speedrun Attempt. Yeah, right. On their first attempt, they spawn on an island and there's a netherrack block on the ground and an Eye of Ender just lying around. Casual. But wait a second, what's that in the distance? Ah yes, a floating lit nether portal. They return to their tree marked with netherrack and start getting wood, and underneath it is a chest full of black concrete. I don't remember this being a vanilla Minecraft feature. They make a crafting table and a pickaxe and literally discover an X marks the spot. They must have spawned on Treasure Island because there's a chest underneath full of end portal frames. You've gotta be kidding me. And there's conveniently an area dug out that perfectly fits an end portal. Then the speedrunner tries speed bridging, emphasis on tries because he falls. And when he gets back up, he tries jumping and he falls again. Even cheating, this guy is terrible. And he falls again. This is painful to watch. After falling again for the 4th time, I guess he gets frustrated and ends up just changing his game mode and doesn't even try to hide it. Finally, he's in the nether portal. Wait, why did he stop? There's a shamelessly obvious cut where he gives himself a shield. Seeing at how bad he is at parkour, he's gonna need that shield. When he's in the nether, he drops down a hole that has water at the bottom of it, which is literally impossible, and he spawned right next to a nether fortress. After wasting a hilariously long time trying to kill a Blaze with his fists and almost dying, he steps on a pressure plate that opens a secret wall compartment, and inside of the chest, you've gotta be kidding me, The armor in the chest has protection 32,000, and the diamond sword has sharpness 69,420. And this amazing loot is all thanks to the pee-pee trader. He returns to the overworld, fills the end portal, and just to make sure it's the right one, he throws a couple eyes of ender. Yep, looks good to me. Once he's in the end, the speedrunner fights in a grueling battle against a Wish.com recreation of the Ender Dragon and beats the game. This next speedrun, the speedrunner spawns in a village, but there's experience points on the ground, so he must have died before in this world. He goes inside one of the houses, loots a chest, and gets some pretty legitimate looking items. Thank God he got that armor because his Minecraft skin is Shrek. Right around the corner is the most suspicious looking dungeon I've ever seen in a speedrun. Not only is it above ground and it's spawning endermen, which isn't possible, but the endermen are all facing the same direction and not moving or fighting back at all. Okay, well that was clearly fake, but this speedrunner still has time to redeem himself. He explores more of the village, but once again, right around the corner is a dungeon, spawned above ground, and it's spawning blaze. I guess the spawner wasn't working, so he goes to the nearby farm, and then there's a very obvious cut in the run. Then he tries to cover it up by looting the farm, but when he's done looting and he turns around, there's like 40 more blaze that just magically appeared behind him, and he obliterates them. Right in front of him is a lit ruined nether portal, which is impossible. I don't even know why he bothered making that because he doesn't even need it. He has 11 eyes of ender for the— wait a second. Just a minute ago, he got 9 ender pearls, but now he has 11 eyes of ender. When did that happen? This can only get worse. He looks down at the grass for a moment and types in chat, BRB, I have to go eat dinner. Within a split second, there's a cut, and he's suddenly in the stronghold. He finds the portal, fills it, and enters the end. With no reputation left to lose, the speedrunner just starts typing a /kill command to beat the game. Yeah, that'll go right over the moderators' heads. This next speedrunner spawns right in the middle of the ocean, which isn't possible. He dives down and finds an underwater ruin and takes some legitimate looking loot from the chest. He makes his way to land and starts mining. But wait a second, where did he get that iron pickaxe? If we rewind the footage, he just looted wooden tools, so he must have given himself a free upgrade. He continues mining in a cave system, stops for a moment, then starts typing in chat that he has gut instinct on where Purtle is. Okay. Then he walks further down the cave and finds a ruined nether portal. Dude, come on. He just needs one more obsidian block and then he can light the portal and go to the nether. And here we go again. He has many a feeling of lava after he says that he breaks a very specific block on the wall and reveals a huge pit of lava and water. He completes the nether portal and then goes to the nether, but he struggles to find a fortress and he's wasting precious time. It's common practice for professional speedrunners to change their render distance to find structures more easily, but this speedrunner changes his render distance to the lowest option, looks down at the ground, and makes a shamelessly obvious cut in his run. He changes his settings back, and the way he justifies what happened is that his computer card hot lagged. Dude, I build computers all the time and I don't even know what that means. The speedrunner approaches the blazes, but quickly realizes he could die from the flames. And all of a sudden he has a shield in his left hand, but I'm confused as to why he cheated because he had the materials to just make it legit anyways. He gets his blaze rods and goes back to the overworld, but he still doesn't have any ender pearls. Then he starts typing in chat again, saying that he has gut instinct on Slendermen. He walks around the corner and what do you know, there's a dungeon with an enderman spawner in it, which isn't even a legitimate feature of Minecraft. The speedrunner farms his endless supply of Slendermen, then he crafts his eyes of ender, locates the stronghold, and makes his way to the end portal. This totally professional and legitimate speedrunner ends his speedrun in the best way possible. While fighting the ender dragon, he dies by accident, and with no shame whatsoever, he teleports himself back to the stronghold and then just uses a kill command. I have no words. In this first speedrun, the player gets some wood, crafts some tools, and then he's ready to find diamonds. He goes into a cave and, well, all of a sudden he can walk through walls. I'm not sure how he's doing this because it still shows that he's in survival mode. Needless to say, he finds diamonds very quickly. He crafts diamond tools and armor, and thank God because his skin is a little weird. After that, he needs obsidian to go to the nether, but wait, no, why is he walking away from it? This speedrunner builds back up and starts walking backwards. And out of nowhere, he starts getting the nether portal animation, but there's not a portal anywhere near him. Okay. This speedrunner explores the nether for a bit, but surprise, surprise, he suddenly has wall hacks again. And he finds a nether fortress very quickly. He gets blaze rods, and at this point in a speedrun, you would want to get ender pearls. So he finds a bastion, and wait, no, why is he walking away from it? The speedrunner goes back to the overworld, and he returns in a completely different area than before. And there's conveniently a chest at the portal that has ender pearls in it. But the portal he comes back in isn't even lit. What? So he crafts his Eyes of Ender and throws it in the air to determine where the stronghold is. He travels in that direction, but he's suddenly traveling at the speed of light. How is this even possible? He must have given himself the effect and then cut it out of the run. When he's done being a speedster, he finds the stronghold, but he's having a tough time actually finding the portal. It's no surprise that he magically gets wall hacks again. He finds the portal, fills it, and enters the end. For the grand finale, this speedrunner proves his clutch skills by climbing a pillar and doing a 360 bow and arrow on the Ender Dragon, but how did it just die in one hit? If we rewind this clip, we can see he gave himself strength and feather falling and cut it out of the run. This speedrunner has no shame. We can tell this next speedrun is official because there's a Wondershare Filmora video editor watermark on it. This guy didn't even take the time to get the legit version. His world generation loading screen looks legit, but when he spawns, he's aimed slightly downwards and he's in a village, so he probably spawned himself there. He loots a chest in the village and finds a crap ton of obsidian. With this suspicious amount of obsidian, he makes a nether portal, but I think the speedrunner got confused because he started making it horizontally, but he has some blocks to spare, so it's okay. So his second portal attempt, and he made a square. I can't watch this anymore. He makes his third portal correctly this time and goes to the nether. So he's in the nether, but he has no tools, armor, or weapons, which is a huge problem. And there's a cut to the speedrun where his entire inventory changes. That's right, he instantaneously has netherite armor, tools, and weapons. This must be a new 1.17 feature. So the next step in a speedrun is to find either a bastion or a nether fortress. Wait, no, why is he mining this glowstone? He uses the glowstone and crying obsidian to make a respawn anchor, so I'm beginning to think he doesn't understand how speedruns work. But he clicks on the respawn anchor and somehow gets teleported to the end. But wait, it gets even weirder. He jumps into the void and then somehow he makes it onto the island. But he forgets to cut out the chat saying set own game mode to survival mode. Well, he made it all this way, so the Ender Dragon fight is gonna be epic, right? Wrong. He cuts again and the dragon is just gone and the portal is spawned. And when he jumps into it, there should be credits, but instead he just automatically spawns back into the overworld. This was painful to watch. This next speedrun has a suspiciously normal start. The speedrunner gets wood, crafts tools, and as soon as he hovers over his tools, they become enchanted. Dude, what? He then digs down to get cobblestone, and when he starts mining the stone, well, you can just watch what happens. After getting diamonds via legitimate methods, the next thing you'd expect for him is to dig further down to make a nether portal. Instead, he walks around for a little and by accident drops his diamond. But when he turns around, a lit ruined nether portal just appears. Casual. To make it worse, when he walks near lava, it automatically becomes obsidian. Now I'm just confused as to how any of this is happening. He loots a chest that conveniently has full enchanted golden armor with protection, unbreaking, and mending. When he gets into the nether, there's no need for the speedrunner to find a bastion or a fortress, because as soon as he spawns in, his inventory gets filled with blaze rods, ender pearls, and eyes of ender. He's making significant progress at only 2 minutes into this run. So the speedrunner returns to the overworld and throws the eye of ender to determine where the stronghold is. Wait, no, why is he turning around? What does he do? This is fine. Everything's fine. Well, he fills this fake ender portal with eyes, and as soon as he enters the stronghold, he already has the advancement for defeating the dragon, and there's a chat conversation between him and the dragon, and he does this all in world record time, 2 minutes and 43 seconds. This speedrun has some questionable methods. The speedrunner finds a village and a desert temple right next to it. They get some normal looking loot, but when they come back up, there's suddenly a ruined nether portal outside, and there's conveniently flint and steel and obsidian in the chest. Totally legit. So they complete the portal, light it, and enter the end. They find the nether fortress, get some blaze rods, but here's where things start to get fishy. Everyone knows you can't sleep in the nether. Well, they put a bed down and go to sleep. I have no idea how. And when they wake up in the stronghold. What in tarnation? After looting a couple chests, they come across this one chest and they find a dragon egg? This one was definitely legit. This speedrunner cheats in a way like I've never seen before. He starts off by getting some wood and then wastes a bunch of time breaking all the tree leaves. Okay. Well, when he's done, there's suddenly a stack of wood lying in the ground right next to this cow. Not suspicious at all. Then suddenly a cow flies right past him. I'm so confused. After these very strange events, the speedrunner crafts some tools and finds a village. And inside the village is everything you'd expect. A farm, a house, a well, a cow dropping a golden apple. Wait a second. Did that cow just poop out a golden apple? And an iron pickaxe, an axe, and diamond armor? This guy is so lucky that there's some magical cow pooping out loot. This is the weirdest speedrun I've ever seen. After these unusual events, things just get weirder. The speedrunner loots the farm for some food, and the cow literally starts building the nether portal. I can't believe my eyes. Whoever that cow is though, I don't think they know how to build a portal correctly. After struggling for what seems like minutes, the cow then lights the portal and goes into the nether, and the speedrunner follows it. The speedrunner legitimately got really lucky because he spawned in right next to a bastion, which means he can quickly trap a piglin, trade, and get ender pearls. Well, he explores the bastion and eventually does trap a piglin for trading, and the piglin must be friends with that magical cow because he starts tossing eyes of ender and end portal frames. What in tarnation? The speedrunner builds the end portal, enters the end, and this next part is just the icing on the cake. He breaks all the end crystals, and when the dragon perches, another dragon comes out of nowhere and starts fighting. How is any of this possible? After an epic battle, the second dragon kills the original one, and somehow it enters the portal as well. This speedrunner must be on the newest Minecraft update because I am so confused. This speedrun, I'm confused whether they're cheating or their game is haunted. They spawn in and immediately get wood, then they make 2 wooden pickaxes, which is oddly specific. Then they go up this hill and wait a second. What's that? If I slow down the footage, that looks just like Herobrine? I don't know whether to be creeped out or confused, but things continue to get weirder. The speedrunner then makes a house, but if I freeze frame the footage, you can literally see Herobrine on the side of the screen. And the speedrunner puts some of his items in the chest, then you can hear the chest open and close. When the speedrunner opens his chest, all of his items are gone. After the house being haunted, the speedrunner leaves the area and eventually finds a forest where all the trees have no leaves. Okay. He follows the path made by the trees, which leads to a ruined nether portal that literally builds itself. What in tarnation? He loots the chest and finds some useful items like 2 swords, a shovel, and some iron nuggets. Then he enters the nether portal, and after perusing the nether, he finds what seems to be a trail of mushrooms that conveniently lead him to a nether fortress. Well, there's a suspicious amount of blaze spawned, and look who's here again. All of a sudden, every blaze dies at the same time, and these blaze rods just appear out of nowhere. After these very, very lucky events, the speedrunner leaves the nether, which isn't smart, considering they never found a bastion to get ender pearls. But just wait till you see what happens. When they get back to the overworld, they wander around for a while until they find a trail of ender pearls in the ground. After the trail ends, they have more than enough ender pearls, so they just start digging straight down, and they find the stronghold. How convenient. As they're trying to find the end portal, look who stopped by to visit. Herobrine. Even after completing the end portal, Herobrine is somehow there again. As if the speedrun wasn't haunted enough already, when they get to the end, the speedrunner stands in the middle of the end island, and every end crystal is broken without him moving a muscle. And when the dragon perches, you can see someone landing on the ground next to it, and then the dragon instantly dies. But this is the weirdest part. Before the speedrunner enters the endgame portal to complete the speedrun, you can hear footsteps behind them, and when they turn around, the speedrun cuts to black. What a cliffhanger. This speedrunner starts off in a village, then he goes to the nether, and then he enters the wait, this is the wrong footage. This next speedrunner is Dream, or at least I think it is. He spawns in a village and finds some pretty normal looking loot. Some wood, a fishing rod, grass seeds, and an enchanted book. Then he makes a crafting table and a boat. Seems legit to me. But then he applies the enchanted book to the bow and it's infinity. How is this even possible? He loots more chests and finds some wood, some iron, a bucket, and this next chest, he conveniently finds flint, diamond, and just enough obsidian to make a nether portal. So he makes the nether portal and enters the end, and he's completely surrounded by lava, but it looks like there's a nether fortress in the distance. Now how is he gonna get over there? Okay, now I know what the infinity enchantment was for. I'm not even sure if this is possible, but that clutch was actually really impressive. But here's where things start getting really suspicious. He gets into the nether fortress and kills a blaze, but remember that enchanted axe that he got from the chest earlier? Well, it drops unnatural amounts of blaze rods. 4 stacks? Not fake at all. Somehow he glitches his boat and launches himself across the nether, conveniently back to the portal. Now remember his looting luck with the blaze? Well, when he gets back to the overworld, there's an enderman conveniently waiting for him. Coincidence? I think not. And it drops 3 stacks of ender pearls. So he makes eyes of ender, throws them into the sky to determine the stronghold location, and once again launches himself across the map with his magical enchanted boat, and he conveniently lands right into a village. Nice. Then he makes one bed, jumps into the water, and wait a second, is that the stronghold? I don't think the speedrun moderators were fooled by this one. So he fills the end portal with eyes, enters the end, and as soon as they enter the end, the dragon just dies. Alright, so it's possible this wasn't Dream. This speedrunner starts off spawning in a village. They immediately dig into this specific block, and there's a chest under it, but it's empty. So they must have forgotten to fill it before they started the speedrun. Also, the villagers aren't moving and they're floating in the air, so the speedrunner definitely spawned them in prior to the run with command blocks. And they can't even trade with them because they forgot to fill their secret chest from earlier. They resort to plan B and get some wood and make some tools, then they start digging straight into a wall that suspiciously had a bunch of flowers near it, and there's a ruined nether portal that needs one more block of obsidian. But it looks like they forgot to fill all the chests they spawned in creative because this one is completely empty. With no shame whatsoever, there's a hilariously obvious cut in the footage, and the portal suddenly is complete, but they don't have flint and steel to light it. Well, they must be really lucky because they break the chest and dig beneath it, and there's another chest. This must be a new feature. Luckily, there's flint and steel in the chest, and that's it. Not suspicious at all. They go to the nether, but waste a lot of time trying to find a nether fortress. All of a sudden, there's a cut to the run, but it seems like nothing is different. They're still wasting a lot of time. Wait, what? They just killed a piglin, and it dropped 24 blaze rods. How is it even possible? Well, I guess they don't need a nether fortress anymore, so they go back to the portal. But it's not lit anymore, which is really unlucky and impossible. But I think they did this for a reason. They explore a little more and find a different portal that's already lit, but it brings them to what seems like the middle of nowhere. They go down this seemingly normal waterfall, and it leads them directly to the stronghold. Still though, they haven't found any endermen, so it's going to be impossible for them to fill the end portal. Well, they go to a very specific room, and inside is an enderman farm. They're literally falling from the sky, and this guy doesn't have to move a muscle. On top of that, each enderman is dropping 5 pearls every time. With this luck, this guy should play the lottery. They craft Eyes of Ender, fill the portal, and enter the end. And out of nowhere, they start flying, as if they have fireworks and elytra, but their hotbar doesn't show any of that. Also, they just entered the end, so how else would they legitimately get elytra? So using these new tools and just cropping a fake hotbar over their screen, they kill the ender dragon, but it looks like they have so many plugins running, the endgame portal doesn't even work, so they just cut the footage. What in tarnation? This speedrunner starts off by getting wood, building tools, and exploring a mine shaft for extra loot. They find pretty normal looking loot like a few gold ingots, some armor, and an ender pearl. After a while of exploring, they go back to the surface and they throw the ender pearl, which is a complete waste because they're gonna need it for the Eyes of Ender. Are you serious? Okay, so them magically teleporting to the stronghold was clearly fake, but it can't get worse, right? Well, they start looting chests in the stronghold, and they find some diamonds, some bread, an AC-130. Wait, what?
Our AC-130 is in the air.
This one was legit. This speedrun, I'm apologizing in advance for the brain cells you're about to lose. World generation looks normal, their spawn looks normal, loot looks good. Okay, now wait a second. Maybe they could have gotten away with the enchanting bottles, but a diamond pickaxe and a sharpness 1000 book? Yeah, right. We'll let it slide for now. They go to the brewing stand and oh look, a villager left some blaze powder in it. How convenient. The speedrunner tries to apply their sharpness 1000 enchantment to the wooden sword, but it doesn't work, so they just equip the book instead. Weird. But when they use it as a weapon, it's a one-hit KO. Ah yes, the one-punch book. Now, I love Marvel movies, especially Doctor Strange, but this part is just too much for me. I'm not sure how this is possible, but they're in a completely different village now. And then they jump down this hole, and the fabric of reality is torn in half. They return to the original village, and they casually loot it for food, as if none of that portal sorcery just happened. On top of that, they just casually walk by this floating portal to a different dimension. They jump down the well, but instead of the well, it's a hallway that leads directly to the stronghold. And it has 11 Eyes of Ender in it, which is impossible. Right when they enter the end, they suddenly have slow falling, and at this point, the speedrun moderators are probably impressed. They actually waste a lot of time waiting for the dragon to perch, despite having a book that can one-hit KO anything. Finally, they realize they have to break the end crystals to make the dragon perch, so they attempt breaking one of them, and they die by accident. Honestly, if you consider magic as tool-assisted, this was a great speedrun. This speedrun actually has a professional start to it. They spawn in a village, take a bed and a crafting table, but then there's this weird tree that has a sign on it that reads, "I am a tree," with apples and item frames. He breaks the base of the tree and falls through a trapdoor to the stronghold. There's a chest that has 3 ender pearls and iron boots, and an end portal that only needs 1 Eye of Ender. The chances of this happening is literally 1 in a trillion, but the speedrunner can't actually complete the portal, so this is the end of the run, right? Wrong. He jumps into the lava and there's a secret cavern beneath it that has an unusually tall ruined nether portal in it. But there's ancient debris near it, so this is clearly fake. They find 1 block of obsidian and flint and steel in the chest, and there's conveniently 1 empty spot on the portal to fill. They light the portal, enter the nether. Wait a second. How are they running so quickly on soul sand? They conveniently find a bastion, and there's a door that leads to an enchantment table. No, wait, why are they leaving? The speedrunner instead jumps down a ditch, lands on a blaze spawner, and the button they press gives them 1 blaze rod. Totally legit. They go down a hallway with 16 ancient debris, which isn't even possible, and and it leads back to the nether portal. Why aren't they going through the portal? They throw an ender pearl and find another lit nether portal, and it leads them to the middle of nowhere. I don't think they understand how speedruns work. They go up to an oak tree in a desert, which isn't even possible, and remember what happened last time when they broke a tree? Well, this must be the newest feature. So they're in the end, but they have no blocks to bridge to the— I can't watch this anymore. And oh look, a ladder, how convenient. With no shame whatsoever, the speedrunner fights in a grueling battle against this Wish.com recreation of the Ender Dragon and beats the game. Who did they think they were fooling? This speedrunner starts off by getting wood, jumping in the ocean and taking a swim, and then he crafts a minecart. Wait, this is the wrong footage. This speedrun starts off fairly normal. They have a legitimate looking world creation screen, but when they load in, it clearly says changed game mode to survival, despite the terrible job at cropping it out. On top of that, the player has blocks on their hotbar and nonchalantly throws them into the ocean as if it never happened. Oh yeah, they spawned in an ocean. Remember the creative world from earlier? Coincidence? I think not. Well, maybe they can redeem themselves. Wait, no, why are they mining stones with their hands? Ah yes, a conveniently placed barrel right at spawn full of water-breathing potions. The only thing that would be even more convenient would be an underwater shipwreck full of overpowered loot, am I right? You've gotta be kidding me. This kid really placed stacks of netherite blocks, eyes of ender, and end portal frames and thought they could get away with it. Well, it's still early in the run. They can still redeem themselves, right? Wrong. They must have gone in creative and built this nether portal and another barrel full of more unnecessarily overpowered loot. They only take the flint and steel and try to light the portal, but quickly realize that they built the portal incorrectly. But it's fine, they've got a plan. The speedrunner tries making the end portal, and after a few minutes of trying to figure out why the portal won't work, they realize they forgot to place an eye, but even then, it still doesn't work. I can't watch this anymore. Naturally, they try to make another end portal, and they mess that one up too. Third time's a charm, right? After wasting 5 minutes being bad at cheating, they finally get to the end, but they realize that they never got any tools. So they waste another 5 minutes trying to figure out how the /give command works. After legitimately getting a netherite pickaxe, you can see they turn on keep inventory, even after they tried to crop it out of the video. Not sure why they'd need that on. Roll the clip. That's right, they use the /kill command that even kills themselves. But it's okay, they're making great time. After shamelessly respawning and returning to the end, they almost get killed by an enderman and beat the game. This speedrun looks normal. Normal loading screen, normal spawn, normal timer, but let me tell you, it's not normal. They spawn right near a ruined nether portal. Yeah, real ruined. It's complete, which isn't even possible. They open the chest next to it and they find some regular old Minecraft loot. A golden pickaxe, a golden hoe, a fishing rod. Like I said, pretty normal Minecraft stuff here. Well, just wait. The speedrunner wastes time trying to place obsidian on one corner of the portal, even though it would have worked fine without it. I don't think they understand how speedrunning works. So they light the portal. Wait, why are they walking away? They start fishing, and is that a steak? This guy is so lucky. He just fished 34 cooked steaks out of thin air. I am so confused. They fish again, and this time they get a diamond shovel with literally every enchantment you could possibly think of. Totally legit. So yeah, they just casually use this magical fishing rod to get a beacon, a diamond pickaxe, a diamond sword, and by the end of their deep sea fishing expedition, they have a full set of enchanted diamond armor with more enchantments than subscribers I have on YouTube. They waste a bunch of time collecting dirt with their special shovel, then they enter the nether. But their chat clearly says set own game mode to survival, and they spawn not only in a nether fortress, but right in front of a blaze spawner. Not suspicious at all. And when they start fighting the blaze, one blaze drops 64 blaze rods. Let's see here. One blaze equals 9,000 blaze rods. Yeah, that math checks out. So after completely obliterating everything in sight, they leave the nether fortress and travel to a very specific location where they trap a seemingly normal piglin to trade. And would you look at that, there's conveniently nether gold ore above them. How lucky. So they mine the gold and get 49 gold ingots, and here's where they goofed up. They try to make gold ingots, but they realize they need a crafting table to do so, but they don't have any wood to make a crafting table. So there is a very subtle cut to the speedrun where it looks like they just opened their inventory, but you can see the piglin on the right completely disappear, and their 49 gold ingots magically turned into 1 gold ingot. Yep, looks normal to me. So they drop this 1 gold ingot down to the trapped piglin to trade, and out of nowhere the piglin dies and drops like 1 billion kajillion ender pearls. I have so many questions. So they craft eyes of ender, then they try to find their way back to the nether portal. On the way there, they run into some wither skeletons, and their enchanted diamond sword must have knocked back 1,000,000 because they literally launched it into the quantum realm. After wasting time trying to find their portal, the speedrunner decides it's okay to just speed up their speedrun. But if I slow down the footage and go frame by frame, you can see they went into spectator mode, located the portal, and they went back into survival mode and didn't even try to hide it. And it just gets worse. They return to their original portal, but as soon as they return to the overworld, a complete the challenge Subspace Bubble, which can be achieved by entering the Nether, traveling 875 blocks, and then returning to the overworld with a new portal, which means this guy's a big stinky cheater. So he throws an Eye of Ender and it conveniently goes beneath him. The speedrunner digs down and they fall right into the Stronghold portal room without getting the I Spy advancement. And the icing on the cake, the portal is complete. You're literally 2 million times more likely to be struck by lightning. They enter the end and wait a second, why is the Ender Dragon dressed like the Incredible Hulk? Instead of actually fighting the dragon, they waste a bunch of time using their magical fishing rod and they get the Horn of Gabriel, and this happens. Somehow the Ender Dragon died from the flash of light and they beat the game. This wasn't a speedrun. This was a whole damn Netflix series. This speedrunner is Technoblade? Well, the chat says set own game mode to survival and they're already level 4, so this is about as real as that time my dad left for milk and said he'd come back. Also, the tree in front of them is already broken, and to top it off, they break one log just for the sake of making this look legit. So they turn around and ahead of them is what appears to be a Wish.com nether portal and 2 chests. Inside the first chest is what you'd expect from a kid cheating in a Minecraft speedrun, full netherite armor. And in the second chest, there's some arrows, some golden apples, the netherite epic gamer weapon. Wait a second, what? This one was definitely legit. This speedrunner starts off in creative mode. On top of that, the video suddenly cuts to a timer starting even though they already started playing. Yeah, this speedrun is really promising. So they break wood in creative mode, but the blocks don't even drop. Despite that, the video jump cuts to a crafting table and he suddenly has wood, planks, and sticks. But wait, there's more. Why is there a desert eagle on the side of the screen? I guess they changed their mind about cheating, so they're suddenly in survival mode now. And you know what? I'll give them a get out of jail free card here. After mining some cobblestone, they go back to their crafting table to make a stone pickaxe, and after that they mine iron ore. Pretty normal Minecraft stuff here, but just wait. They smelt the iron ore to get iron nuggets, and they craft a— wait, that's not a pickaxe. Yeah, so it's possible the speedrunner is using some illegal mods here. Last time I checked, desert eagles aren't in vanilla Minecraft. Well, they proceed to use the desert eagle to just destroy everything in front of them. And did I mention they're in creative mode again? The speedrunner then travels to a cave, and they use the desert eagle to mine for diamonds. Totally legit. There's a sudden cut in the speedrun, and all of a sudden they get a free upgrade. They proceed to obliterate the cave. And it just continues to get worse. There's another shameless cut to the video, and they just happen to find a rocket launcher. After another cut, their rocket launcher changed color from yellow to green, and even though they're clearly trying to use it, it's not working. Until Minecraft freezes, and this happens. They literally nuked their Minecraft world. And the speedrunner did all of this just to find some diamonds. This is painful to watch. And if you're wondering if it gets worse, it does. The speedrunner proceeds to spend the next 10 minutes sniping these endermen, and there's a shameless cut to him magically having a stack of Eyes of Ender. I feel physical pain for the speedrun moderators who had to watch this. So he digs down and finds a stronghold, all normal Minecraft stuff here. After wasting even more time trying to find the ender portal, the speedrunner breaks out some of his tools from earlier. Needless to say, he finds the portal very quickly. So he fills the portal with Eyes of Ender, and the dragon battle was a piece of cake, considering he has an atomic bomb. The speedrunner opens their timer and shows they beat the game in 14 seconds, which is rookie numbers. I mean, come on, he couldn't even get beneath 1 second? What a noob, am I right? This speedrunner starts off by riding a minecart, using his elytra to fly in the sky, and then he fights a ravager. Wait, this is the wrong footage. This is probably the luckiest speedrun I've ever seen. But we're just gonna pretend it doesn't say set own game mode to survival, and on top of that, they're already level 7. So they either were in creative mode before the speedrun started, or they must be so fast at leveling up, we just didn't see it. So they spawn in on a seemingly random location, but I don't remember island minecarts being a vanilla Minecraft feature. What in tarnation? They open the minecart chest, and there's a netherite pickaxe, a single obsidian block, and flint and steel. As if the netherite pickaxe isn't enough proof for this being fake, I wonder what the obsidian and flint and steel is for. Perhaps a nether portal? Well, listen to what the speedrunner says in his microphone.
Let's dig in a very, very completely random spot.
What a coincidence! A nether portal? This guy is really lucky because he conveniently has one obsidian block for the one missing spot on the portal. Coincidence? I think not. So he fills the portal, lights it, and enters the nether. When in the nether, he opens the chat box and shamelessly shows his entire command history. Survival mode, creative mode, changing the time. Yeah, he's not even trying to hide the fact that he's cheating. Well, it gets worse. He says this.
Now I'm just gonna do like a completely useless command.
And he gives himself a blaze rod. Yeah, a blaze rod during a speedrun, completely useless. So he exits the nether, returns to the surface, and on the opposite side of the island, oh look, another chest! And what do you know, it has a single ender pearl in it to go with this single blaze rod. So he crafts an Eye of Ender, and the speedrunner actually has the gabagools to say this.
I wonder how I got that.
Buddy, you're cheating, that's how you got it. Right next to the chest is a hole with water at the bottom of it, so he drops down into it, and he found the end portal. Totally legit. Miraculously, he has one Eye of Ender for the one missing slot on the end portal. Like I said, this guy's guy's just lucky. So he fills the portal and enters the end, and then he just starts looking desperate. The speedrunner types in chat /die. This is painful to watch. After the speedrunner realizes he's so bad at Minecraft that he has no idea how to beat the dragon, even while cheating, there's a sudden jump cut to the speedrun and the dragon is gone. And the speedrunner says this.
I guess that's a new world record.
Watch out, Dream and Technoblade, this guy's coming for you. In this first speedrun, the players aim towards the ground so we know it's fake. Then he turns around and there's a full village behind him, with not 1, but 2, 3, 4, and 5 iron golems. Yeah, that's totally legit. Then he walks to a very specific block and proceeds to dig straight down, which is widely known as a bad idea in Minecraft. To our surprise, the speedrunner miraculously finds a 10 vein of diamonds, which has a 0.5% chance of happening. Yeah, right. At this point, the speedrunner just stops trying to hide the fact that he's cheating because he digs through the wall to conveniently find a pool of lava. But wait a second, where did he get that water bucket? He clearly spawned that into his inventory and cut it out. You're probably wondering, how is he mining this obsidian so quickly? Take a look at his pickaxe that he just crafted. Somehow it got an efficiency enchantment on it. What is this guy gonna pull next? He then builds back up to the village, but he's in a completely different village. And now there's a ruined nether portal that's already lit right next to him. The chances of this happening are impossible. So this speedrunner goes into the nether, and at this point, the speedrun moderators probably think he's psychic, because he once again digs straight down and falls right into a blaze spawner. This guy is really lucky. You may have noticed he only got 1 blaze rod, but this speedrunner doesn't need any more. He goes back to the overworld to miraculously find 1 enderman right outside of his portal. He kills the enderman, creates 1 eye of ender, and throws it to determine where the stronghold is. Now, this part is just laughable. He goes up to the house and types in chat that he has to think about where the stronghold is. And then there's a blatantly obvious cut where he recreated the house he was next to, and suddenly he's directly above the stronghold. And if that's not bad enough, when he gets to the portal room, he only needs 1 eye of ender. So clearly the speedrun is fake. At this point, the speedrun moderators probably got popcorn and a soda, because this guy spawns into the end and every single beacon is already destroyed. If you ever need someone to lie for you, don't pick this guy because he's just terrible at it. This next speedrun is actually pretty normal compared to all of the other ones. The speedrunner gets wood, crafts some tools, and then loots a village. But this next series of events is so confusing, I don't even know how to process it. The speedrunner waits until it's nighttime, which defeats the purpose of a speedrun, and then he goes to sleep. He cuts the video to waking up in the stronghold. Before the speedrunner goes into the end, he loots a chest and finds a nuke? This one was definitely legit. In this next speedrun, the speedrunner conveniently spawns right next to a village. He gets some wood, crafts some tools, and so far everything seems legit. It's only until he digs down that we discover that he spawned directly above a stronghold. Now, maybe the speedrunner could have gotten away with this, but then he loots a chest that conveniently has full enchanted diamond armor, weapons, and 64 enchanted golden apples. Now, maybe he could have gotten away with this, but if you look at the armor he equips, the enchantment level is 100 million. Yeah, that's legit. The speedrunner then travels in complete darkness directly to the end portal room, where the portal is complete. He puts text on the screen saying that his camera went out for a second or two, but he went to the nether and got eyes. Okay. He then one-shots the dragon with his enchanted bow, and despite the run being more than 5 minutes, he says it was a little longer than 6 seconds. At least try to make it seem legit, dude. In this next speedrun, everything seems normal. But wait a second, did you see that? I'll play the clip again. This speedrunner was probably fooling around in creative and forgot to get rid of the random stuff he spawned in. He then finds a village and finds some pretty normal looking loot in a chest and immediately goes to a villager to trade. But this villager is 100% leveled up, so he clearly went into creative mode and spawned this in. After getting some extremely OP trades that I'm not even sure are possible in vanilla Minecraft, our speedrunner digs down to find diamonds. He finds a hollowed out area full of water that suspiciously resembles the shape of a nether portal, and right next to it is a pool of lava. So he makes the nether portal, but he doesn't have any flint to light it. Right around the corner, our speedrunner finds a dungeon without the spawner, and inside of the chest is just 1 flint. Yeah, totally legit. So he goes into the nether and walks in a very specific path that leads directly to a bastion, which leads us to believe that he already knew where it was in the first place. When trading, everything seems normal until he starts getting a crazy amount of blaze rods and ender pearls. He goes back to the overworld and ends up not using any of his eyes of ender, and here's here's why. This speedrunner gets onto a minecart which leads directly to the stronghold. Yeah, the speedrun mods won't be suspicious at all. Before he enters the end portal, he loots a couple chests with some extremely OP items, but he only takes this stick, and wait until you see what he does with it. When he's in the end, he doesn't even bother breaking the end crystals, he just sits there and waits for the dragon to come down. Now watch this. He just one-hit KO'd the dragon. This guy seriously thinks he's the One-Punch Man. This next speedrunner shows off his clutch skills by jumping into a ditch where there's conveniently a tree, iron ore, and diamond ore. Now, this may seem normal at first glance, but if we look at the footage, we can tell this ravine isn't too deep, which means it would be impossible for diamond ore to spawn here. So he definitely spawned it in creative. The next thing you'd expect in the speedrun is for him to find obsidian and mine it, but how he gets obsidian is not how you'd expect. The speedrunner just sits there for a while, and all of a sudden, water starts flowing from above and falls conveniently into the pool of lava, making obsidian for him to mine. Either this guy is extremely lucky or this seed is haunted by a ghost, because the chances of that happening are impossible. Our speedrunner then goes to the nether, and things are pretty normal, until he reaches the nether fortress. He's clearly struggling to find a blaze spawner, and all of a sudden, a blaze spawner appears out of thin air. This seed is definitely haunted. The speedrunner gets his blaze rods, trades with piglins, and returns to the overworld. He finds the stronghold, fills the portal, and is ready to fight the ender dragon. But once again, something was a little off about his ender dragon fight. The speedrunner stands still as every end crystal is destroyed without him moving a muscle. Then, when the dragon comes down, it gets killed instantly without the speedrunner even touching it. There's no doubt this speedrun is fake, but whether or not Herobrine lives on this guy's computer is up for debate. This next run has the strangest methods I have ever seen. It starts off very normal with the speedrunner spawning in a village, and he goes right for the chest. But the weapons in the chest have been used, which means he definitely spawned in this chest and all of the items. He then uses the redstone to craft a redstone block, and here's where I really get interested. The speedrunner builds this strange contraption, and he launches himself in a boat with TNT across the map, conveniently right next to a ruined nether portal. He finds obsidian in the chest, completes the portal, lights it, and goes into the nether. The speedrunner throws 4 gold ingots at the piglin, but he gets back 64 eyes of ender, which isn't even a possible trade. The speedrunner then goes back to the overworld, and he digs out a part of the wall, places rails, and then he gets in the minecart. But when he gets jammed in the block, his character gets forced underground. I genuinely have no idea what's going on here, so if you think you know, comment it. He conveniently gets glitched right in the end portal room with half a heart to spare. The speedrunner goes into the room behind him and breaks a very specific block above him to find a few items. But what's important here is the boat and the lever. Wait till you see what he does next. He once again makes this strange TNT boat launching contraption and conveniently launches himself onto the nearest pillar. After he destroys all the end crystals, he once again launches himself at the ender dragon, but the way he defeats the dragon is not how you'd expect. He starts typing in chat telling the dragon to kill himself. The dragon says okay, and then it dies.